Hi everyone, welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. My name is Alpa Sharma and this is our editorial analysis. Can you hear and see me clearly, everyone? Very good morning. Okay, yes, Diya. I am going to address that. Yes, I am. Okay, so please give me some time. I'm waiting for some more people to join in. I will give you my 2 cents about the 22 paper. Okay, good morning everyone. But before I give you my 2 cents, I'd like to know, how did the paper go? Shweta says it was terrible. Other people who sat for 22 exam, how did it go? We need to talk about it. It's the biggest examination of the year and it just got over. So before we start off with the editorial discussion, I'm going to take good 10 minutes to discuss about the papers since I could not see you. क्या exam था ये? Okay. Acha, all right. Others, how did your exam go? How was it? It was okay. Okay, all right. English was lengthy, legal easy, lengthy, and GK bounce. Okay. Guys, I'll tell you something. And that's my opinion here. And everybody who's targeting 23 can take some points from this one, okay? One, I'm not a GK teacher, okay? And I read newspapers regularly. So my GK comes only from the newspapers. Yet, if I'm able to answer most of the current affair questions easily, GK wasn't a difficult section. By my words, I don't read GK books. The GK that I have, the knowledge that I have comes only from reading newspapers regularly. So, one suggestion to 23 kids, be very regular with your newspapers and be very regular with what is being taught to you in the classes. Second thing, it was a lengthy paper and it is supposed to be a lengthy paper. If you look at the last 2 years, we've seen there's no change in the pattern. We've seen the question paper full of RCs, right? We've seen that happening. So there was no surprise coming our way. Everyone who could handle which passage to pick up first and which to leave. It was comparatively lengthier than the last 2 papers, I'd buy that. But working smart would have helped you sail through. Working smart is, I'll decide which passage should I take and which passage should I leave for the end. I'll take up the ones that are easy. I'll take up the ones that are factual, that doesn't need a lot of reading. The English section was full of tone and main theme questions. We had been doing these 2 type of questions in the last whole year. I had taken multiple sessions on what the main idea and the tone is. You should have got them correct. Now, everyone who's targeting 23, there's nothing new. You just need to know exactly how to take the paper so that you're not baffled with the new kind of questions, and be very regular with the class notes and the newspapers. Everyone who's targeting 22 ALET, I'll be taking a session very soon on the learnings that you can take from CLAT, where you can still crack ALET, CLAT and other examinations that are left. We still have time. We just need to be strategizing our process. Okay? Does all this make sense, everyone? Diya, does it make sense? Exactly. I kept telling you, GMAT books, CAT RCs. There's a reason why because these are full of passages that are lengthy. Okay? Hi, Anil. Do I make sense, everyone? So, what's bygone is bygone. Let's not fret about CLAT anymore. Let's forget it. It's done and dusted. Let's be prepared for ALIT with our full energy. Yes, that's true, Sharvari. It's true. But now what we'll do is, see, Sharvari, we have 70 marks of reasoning coming up. And we don't know what's going to come up in the examination. We don't know that. There's no sample paper from NLU Delhi coming out. So there could be surprises here. Make sure you take your paper very smartly. We'll have many sessions on telling you how to take the paper smartly. Because you worked hard. I know you guys have worked hard. You just need to remember that I need to keep my mental peace during those 2 hours, and I need to be able to attempt as many questions as possible correctly. So make sure you attend all the ALIT sessions live and learn the most from them. Okay? So that's my 2 cents about CLAT, which is done and dusted. Let's forget about that. Only 23 kids will worry about CLAT. The 22 kids now have to stop discussing everything all together about 22 CLAT and just focus on ALIT. Yes, it was not very difficult, okay? So, we'll have many sessions. I have a session that's planned where we could learn a few things from the mistakes that we've done in CLAT, and we can still make ALIT happen. Remember that we together will make that happen. Just remember, jo ho gaya hai, just let it pass through and let's focus on what we have. Okay? So, with a breath of fresh air, let's start with our editorial analysis today. Let's see one simple article that we're going to read together. Okay? And after we read that, we'll learn what lines to read, what lines to leave. We will see. Just a minute, let me show you. And I'll take only one article today because it's a long one. Okay, we have many new words. We'll discuss the tone of the author, the summary. These 2 kind of questions become even very more important now onwards, right? And we'll also see what are the important articles that we need to read and what are the articles that we need to miss out on. If you guys remember, if you had seen my last 6 months revision of important editorials, if you remember that, I had given you a list of important topics on which RCs might come up. You remember I had told you AFSPA. You remember I had discussed an article in December, precisely December 8th, on dualism and monism and international laws. You remember in the list of the last 6 months revision, I had given you reopening of schools and education. You remember I had given you a topic on misusing the POCSO Act and error of judgment there. You remember these topics that I had given you? COVID-19, Omicron, all of these were mentioned in the list. If you had read them, if you attended my classes regularly, those international affairs, dualism, monism would not have been a difficult task for you. You could have, and that passage on dualism and monism was a cakewalk if you knew what's dualism and monism. So, I had already told you these topics are important. AFSPA questions were so easy. I remember doing that precisely in December. In December, I discussed an entire article on what AFSPA is and what are the important details of AFSPA. It made huge headlines for over a month. Too many things about AFSPA coming in again and again. So, 23 kids, what we need to focus on is reading the newspapers regularly. You'll see everything important being repeated over a period of time. And then needless to say, attend my Hindu classes regularly. Yeah? Alright, so let's start with our vocabulary from today's article. Done and dusted, CLAT 22. Let's focus on ALET 22 and CLAT 2023. That's just around the corner as well. So here we go with the first slide of vocabulary, everyone. So the first word, enunciating. Enunciating is when you clearly say something, pronounce something. What I said about CLAT 22 might not be very pleasing. That's possibly not what you wanted to hear. Okay. The answer key will be out shortly. CLAT Consortium is going to release the answer key very, very shortly. So we'll wait for the answer key to be out. We'll challenge the answers in case there are doubts. Okay. So back to the class. Enunciating is saying something clearly, pronouncing something clearly. She enunciated each word slowly and carefully and clearly. That's enunciation. Now, today's article is from the New York Times. And the topic of the article is literature. That's the agenda of the class. Okay. The next word, the phrase is a vantage point. A vantage point is a position where you are at, where you have a good view of everything around you. It could be a physical position, it could be a mental position, but from that position, that vantage point, you can analyze and see things with a clear light. From my vantage point, I could see into the front garden. So where he was standing, he could clearly see the entire front garden without any obstruction. So when there are no obstructions, when everything is clear, that's going to be a vantage point. Good morning, everyone. Okay. The next word is begetting. Begetting is something that's going to cause something else. Begetting war, it's going to cause wars. So killing begets more killings. Killings causes more killings. Can I say something political? Okay, I would not. Okay, I wanted to say something about the burning of the trains, but okay, let's not get into that. Impede is the next word that we have. Carefully pronouncing, Ria, is enunciating. You're right. Okay, and the last word is impeding. Impeding is to either delay or obstruct. Obstruction, hindrance, impede. So the sap causes swelling which can impede breathing. So it obstructs breathing. So basically the swelling in the tract so that you can't breathe well, that is impeding. Impeding can be obstruction. Can I say the length and the number of passages were impeding your speed in CLAT 2022? It could. It obstructed your speed. It hindered your speed. So that's slide number 1. Take a very quick screenshot. Impede is hinder, absolutely. No, Sharvari, let's not get into it. Otherwise, people are going to sue me. Stem for begetting. Yes, exactly. Stem for begetting. Very good, Dia. Exact synonym. Okay. Let's move to slide number 2, everyone. So that's slide number 2. So perspicuity. Perspicuity is very careful about each detail, like OCD. He's very careful about nitty-gritties of something, trivial matters. Very fussy is persnickety. She's very persnickety about her food. Her food needs to be made in the exact manner. This much chili, this much salt, placed in this specific manner. The spoon should be on the right, the fork should be on the left, and XYZ. Very persnickety, very particular about details. Fussy if things don't go well according to the demand. That's persnickety. That's possibly a new word that you guys have come across. Okay. Then we have affectation, not affection, but affectation. These are two different words. So affectation is how you write or say something that's very impressive. The affectation of a man who measures every word for effect. That is, he speaks in a manner that's very impressive and very careful. Piece of writing or piece of speech that's careful, nicely arranged, and very impressive is a way of affectation. Okay. Conscious for persnickety, you can say that. Conscious also is a related word to affectation. Do you see that chorus? These are related words. Yeah. Okay. Begetting again. Okay. Ria, I'll explain that again. See, begetting is, okay. Let me give another example. So if there is hate speech that goes on in our society, it begets violence, communal violence. What happens? The communal hate speech leads to, causes communal violence. So begetting is something that causes something else. Leading to is an exact synonym to begetting. So hate speech begets communal violence. It results as well. Resulting in is also a synonym to begetting. I hope this is clear to everyone. Okay. Conscious for persnickety and affectation, these are related. Okay. Yeah, all right. Let's move to the next word. Precautious. Precocious is you have developed certain abilities and inclination at an early age. You remember we've done this word earlier in one of our classes. So precocious is when a child shows understanding beyond her age, very matured, something that's not expected out of the child. That kind of inclination of behavior, possibly a child having inclination for art only when the child is 2 to 3 years old. That's very rare. Okay, I've met a child who has inclination for nature. Ever since he was 4 years old, he could look at the moon and the stars and the grass growing and the trees growing ever since he was 3 4 years old and appreciate that. So that kind of inclination, when the child grows pretty early in his or her uh, age, and that's not expected out of him, is precautious. So the precautious solitary boy, he was solitary, he used to live alone, and he used to show inclination that wasn't expected out of his age. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you remember 28th April? Yeah, exactly. I think you're making notes. Advanced, yes, you can say that for precautious. And the last word for this slide is wryly. So in a very wry manner is very dry, in a mocking manner, not very, it might be insulting as well, but not very sympathetic, not very enthusiastic, not very thoughtful, is a wry manner. Possibly being very blunt and straight and not very thoughtful. He reflects dryly on his life and work. He carelessly, possibly very in a plain manner, talks about his life and his work. That's a very wry manner. Slide number 2, everyone, take a screenshot and please like the session right now. Yes, Shweta, it should be released by 12 today afternoon. Early maturity is precautious. It is. It is. Okay. Like the session. Don't move ahead without liking it. Okay. That's slide number 2, everyone. So I think we have only 2. Yes, only 2 slides. And if you're targeting CLAT 2023, a comprehensive combo course has been launched. Make sure you enroll yourself right away because now it's time for CLAT 2023 and its preparation to start off with full-fledged attention. Don't be late. I shall see you in the classes very, very soon. Now here we come with the sarcasm manny. Yes, can be a synonym to wry. Okay. Now let's start with the article here. Sometimes proper speech isn't correct speech. Okay. Guys, you've been coming to my classes very regularly. I'll give you a brief of this article, okay, before we proceed. You see, when I talk to you, I might not pronounce every word perfectly. I might be, while I'm speaking, be making a couple of grammatical mistakes because when you talk without much thought, because it's a live session, you tend to make mistakes, okay? That probably isn't proper speech. But can you call it an incorrect speech? Possibly not. Because sometimes improper speech is also acceptable. So, what is improper speech? What is proper speech? Which one of these two is correct or are both correct? That's what the article talks about. Read the page and send me a done, everyone, once you're done reading it. Thank you, everyone. Read the page and send me a done. So you see the difference here, proper speech and improper speech. The teacher said, don't use gonna and wanna. I wanna do it. Don't say that. It says, I want to do it. And then don't say gonna, say I am going to do it. Right? So according to the teacher, gonna and wanna are improper ways of talking. And don't use them. They're going to, there's no word like gonna. Oh, Shweta, that's surprising. But now my first question is, what do you think the author believes in? Predict that. In the furthermore slides, which side do you think the author belongs to? A promoter of gonna and wanna, or somebody who criticizes the usage of gonna and wanna? I'd like to know that from you. Which side does the author belong to? Promoter? Supporter? Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. He is a supporter because you see, he says these are words. And he says, I'm going to diverge from this guidance. That means he believes in the opposite of what the teacher believes in. He has a divergent point of view here. So he is a supporter of the usage of gonna and wanna. Let me tell you something. The writer of the passage also is a linguist. So if something as a promotion of gonna and wanna comes from a linguist, possibly we need to talk about that. Read the second page. He says first, how is going to diverge from it? Read this page. So you see here, the first paragraph is basically till this line. He's saying teachers are the best. Teachers know what's right, what's wrong, and they're doing a brilliant job. All of this is merely a pacification so that the teacher is not offended with the article that he's written. He says teachers are the best. What they're doing, I can't even do that ever yet. He says yet. And did I tell you? I keep repeating that. When there's a yet, everything else that comes before it is useless. That's not the author's point of view. The point of view it is that I still think gonna and wanna issue merits unpacking. What does that mean? It means let's open the Pandora box. This is an issue and we need to unpack the box. We need to discuss about, is gonna and wanna acceptable as a part of language, or we should not use them at all. So he says that's how he starts explaining. He says gonna and wanna are there in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Unlike the teacher had said, these are no words, these are not there in the dictionary. Don't follow them. Now, do you see why teachers say that? He's a very smart author actually. Do you see why the teacher would say that? See, English teachers, because I'm myself one of those, we learn how to love the rules, okay? And rules tell us that it's going to and want to, not gonna and wanna. That's what the rule says. And English teachers, they love the rules. But you've seen me, you've heard me saying gonna and wanna 1,000 times over. You've seen me possibly pronouncing some words incorrectly as well, fumbling with them as well. Because the moment you deviate from the rule, that's when you find these words, and they are there in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So the author says the teacher is wrong here because the words are there in the dictionary. And then they are termed as pronunciation spelling. That is going to, if you quickly pronounce it, it might sound as gonna. And want to, if you quickly pronounce it, it might sound as wanna. When it sounds as wanna, you write the spelling of the pronunciation. And that's why the part of speech is called pronunciation spelling. And then the author says you can also categorize the words as contractions. I will explain the word contractions in detail because this word will be used multiple times in the next page. Please everyone understand what contractions are here, okay? Contractions basically are two words mixed together to make one word. Okay, so for example, needn't and shan't. So need not and shall not. We've combined these two. These are examples of contractions. But is gonna and wanna a contraction? Possibly not, because we are not using an apostrophe in gonna and wanna like we're using in needn't and shan't. We aren't using the apostrophe here. So these words can be called contractions because we are combining two words like these two, but a little away from contractions because they don't have the apostrophe. That's what contractions are. Okay, I hope it makes sense to everyone what contractions are. Let's move on to the next page. Let's discuss more about contractions. Perhaps there's a prescribed pedagogical practice to instruct children to speak without these contractions. That is, what is a pedagogical practice? Pedagogy is a methodology of teaching to the kids. And possibly there's something prescribed in the grammar books, in the vocabulary books, that this is not how it is spoken. So you refrain from doing that. And since teachers teach those grammar books, like Wren and Martin for that matter of fact, you abide by the rules. You remember, everyone who comes to my paid classes, you remember I told you I and we, the first person, the old rule was that it should always be followed by shall, and then the second person and the third person, the older rule said it will be followed by will. But then that's an obsolete rule. Wren and Martin still says follow this rule, but that's an obsolete one. We don't use that anymore. We use will only with certainty and shall with probability. So I can also say I will do it. I will go. You don't necessarily have to say I shall go. That's an obsolete rule. So prescribed pedagogical practice says you shall with I and we, and use will with you and she. But that's only a prescribed pedagogical rule. We can move away from that. Or a philosophical sense that to speak properly is to enunciate the phrase going to instead of saying gonna. So possibly your speech is going to be better if you say going to instead of gonna. That's what he focuses on. But he again counters it. He says, no, that's not acceptable. Yeah? How? Exactly, Dia. That's the root word for it. He says, but if it's anything like that notion, it is unsuitably broad. Possibly my daughter heard the teachers as referring to all speech when they meant something more specific. What more specific? Can you, according to your own thought, differentiate between when to use gonna and when to use going to? What do you think the author believes in? When is it okay? Hi Mahi. When is it okay to use gonna and when is it okay to use going to? What do you think the author believes in? Because he believes gonna is a word. But when is the question? Should we be using these? I'd like to know that from you. Formal and informal. Simple as that. Exactly. Informal is gonna and formal is going to. So possibly, exactly, all of you got that correct. So possibly the teacher wanted to be more specific about formal writing and using going to. The daughter heard them a little wrong and she followed it blindly for everything. Going to is the correct word, gonna is no word. But overall, the nut here is how foggily we tend to process that human entails using a language in two ways, formal and informal. And in informal, gonna should be a permissible one. that have differences in vocabulary and grammar. Linguists, I'll tell you another example of how informal grammar allows us a few things that formal grammar doesn't. I don't know nothing. I ain't nothing. Informal rap songs are full of these double negatives. Will formal grammar allow us this? No, we're going to get a negative mark if we mark one of those in our actual examination, right? But then informally they are permissible in grammar and in vocabulary as well. Linguists as a science includes a subfield called sociolinguistics. What is sociolinguistic? If we break the word, it's linguistic, learning language from the perspective of how society speaks it, how society uses it. So sociolinguistic also needs to be brought into consideration when you talk about linguistics, and being trained in it includes the understanding that people speak differently in different contexts. And so when I make a rap song, I'm going to say, I ain't nothing. I don't know nothing. But when I write something formally like CLAT, I am going to be not using these words. Yes, Mahi, I will. Yes, I know you want to talk to me. I can understand that. I will give you last 10 minutes, okay? So, okay, now that's about this page. Let's move to the next page. Making that point initially struck me as hammering on something rather obvious. He said, oh, everybody knows that the social linguistic is a field and people speak informally and formally. However, I've realized that it can be hard for people to get quite past an idea that written language in its permanence and formality is the real thing, while casual speech can be seen as mere approximation, full of messy flouting rules. So he said, people think what is written is the formal one, what is spoken is the informal one, and what is spoken can be full of breaking of rules, which is permissible in spoken sociolinguistic pattern. It takes sense to tell students to avoid contractions such as gonna and wanna in formal language. Of course, you shouldn't be using I'm gonna come to the office tomorrow. You will not ask your boss like that. I'm gonna come to the office. You say, I am going to come to the office tomorrow, sir. That's the formal way of talking. You're not going to send a letter to the Prime Minister, I'm gonna revolt against you. No, right? Since there's a long tradition of English of doing so and traditions die hard. That is, this is how it's written. That's the tradition. We're going to follow the tradition. But isn't spoken English also a tradition? Isn't using contractions, didn't, needn't, shan't, gonna and wanna, these contractions, is that also a tradition? Is that also going to die hard? Possibly yes. Contractions are a natural consequence of uttering words close together repeatedly over aeons of times. That is, I'm going to say, see, I just used the word, I'm going to say. So going to, speaking it together over and over and over again, you make an abbreviation, you make a contraction, like gonna and wanna. So these are habits and these are traditions and they die hard. So you can't teach children for not using these words altogether. Contractions are eternal. Now, when he says contractions are eternal, he gives you examples here. You see, many examples. We can skip these examples, can we? Yes or no? Do you want me to speak in Hindi? I didn't get your question because I am not speaking in Hindi. It's a habit, yes. Chorus, but then there's another thing to it. Gonna can be a way of casually linking to you. Okay? You'll get it easily when I use words like that. I can easily skip this part. These are merely examples of how contractions have been in existence for very long. Contractions are cross-linguistically normal. There's a Ukrainian folk song titled This, where if you translate it, it should be you but me deceived. But then really it is but you deceived me. So It's basically how contractions work. This is merely another example of how contractions are eternal. So the entire page can be skimmed through. You can save a lot of time by skimming here. Contractions don't impede clarity. No, we understand that. I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. I still understand that. It doesn't hinder our clarity of understanding. The word don't in the preceding phase is clearly a combination of do not. We know that. Everyone reading this understands that. So it doesn't hamper our understanding. Avoiding contractions in formal language is more a stylistic rule, a style of writing. A stylistic rule is this is the style that you need to follow while you're writing. Yes, Ria, I'll do that. How to improve reading speed? As 22 class students told me that improve RC. Poonam, I'm going to address, I have addressed that already in the beginning of the session. No. I don't know Punjabi. I don't speak in Punjabi. Poonam, I'm going to address that again towards the end of the class. Stick with me. I'll give you a good 10 minutes and we'll discuss how to learn from 22's CLAT so that 23 CLAT is the best for you. Okay. So towards the end, we'll talk about that. So he says writing do not instead of don't and not using contractions is merely a stylistic rule, a style of writing. It's not a necessary one. Why then shouldn't we let contractions play in casual speech, which we engage in more using language intuitively, comfortable in the persuasiveness of our informality? So it basically question says, why is it not allowed in formal speech as well? It should be allowed, right? Indeed, I hear the school teacher speak casually from time to time, and I can attest that they routinely say gone and wanna, as they should. So he says, I know teachers say gone and wanna, but why do they teach this to the kids? He's unhappy about that. He says students should be allowed to use these words. I suggested to my daughter that she reconsider following this particular advice given by her teacher. Oh, that's a big thing to do. You know, teachers actually for certain age group are beyond parents, right? If the teacher has said something, the kids will listen to it. Parents, they possibly will flout that, right? But if the Thiru, I take these sessions every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay? I take these sessions these 3 days. So make sure you've subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss out on these series. And you know how many articles that I had predicted have appeared in CLAT 22 papers. So these sessions become even more important now. Exactly, Shweta. How you speak the word, where you use these words is going to matter. So ultimately, he tried to counter the teacher. What do you think? The daughter listened to the father? Possibly not, because the age the children are in, teachers are superior to the parents, at least when she isn't around them. But I also realized that the fact that she learned the lesson so well may be evidenced by just how effective her teachers are. Maybe the teachers don't use these words. When the teachers don't, you are also not going to use the word. Before she and I talked about it, I hadn't heard gone and wanna from her in months. So possibly she was following her teachers, and her teachers also did not use these words. So the child possibly is not going to listen to the father here when the father says, don't be so harsh on yourself. Yes, my dualism and monism, it came in the examination. Yes, you remember the class. So let's move on. Perhaps being the child of a, that's the last page, I think, the second last. Perhaps being the child of a persnickety dad. So he says he's a finicky dad. He is one who is very fussy about details. And he gives an example. Why is a persnickety dad who crosses his ankles when he sits in an armchair? That's how you're supposed to sit in an armchair, a chair that has arms, okay? By crossing your ankles. That's merely an example of how persnickety this, or how fussy, how detail-oriented the dad is. Something to do with her receptivity of the idea? We may never know, but I'm worried that other kids might sense it is an affectation, a kind of precautious fuddy dadism. So basically being, every child who listens to it would pass it on as, oh, you're just being too fussy. Don't. Just follow what is being taught to you. I want her to speak well, of course, but to be able to do that both formally and informally. And that's why he says, use the word gone and wanna when you're talking informally. Now, there's a question that comes in my mind. Why is the author so keen in the usage of gonna and wanna? What difference does it make if the child uses going to and want to? He is so keen in letting the child know that gonna and wanna are needed. And you need to follow that. Why is he so fussy about that? Can the child not have a good life without these words? I'll show you. Why is he so fussy? Read this beautiful example. He gives you an example of a series on HBO. The series is named as Barry, okay? And he says in the 5th episode, there's a character who insists on taking over a grim task in a pressure-packed situation. So there's a lot of pressure and there's a very serious task that he has to do. And he says, I'm going to do it. I am doing it. Do you hear me? I'm going to take up the task. I'm going to do it. That's what the character says. Now, what if he said, I am going to do it. I am going to do it in a casual speech? It might not sound very proper. The whole essence and the whole soul of the sentence and the character will be deviated if you use I am going to do it. And now you know why the author focuses so much on the usage of gonna and wanna. Because sometimes usage of gonna and wanna are necessary to bring soul or essence to the sentence. Sometimes it's necessary to speak in a way that's very convincing. And if you use going to, it doesn't sound very convincing as a character there. Okay? He wants her to know that they both are proper. In future, she might come across situations that, yes, exactly. Emotion, that was full of emotion here. And that's why he wants her daughter to use these sometimes. After we talked about this issue, my daughter Riley said to me and her sister, my dad is teaching me not to speak well. Ah, that's sad. That might have broken his heart. The plight of the linguist parent. I have no doubt that she'll grow up able to speak well because she's going to say going to do and want to do. But part of speaking well is being able to speak right. And sometimes the situation demand you to say gonna and wanna. I want to make sure. See, so much with the theme of the passage. I want to make sure she can speak well. So that's why he's fussy about usage of word gonna and wanna. Now tell me, gonna and wanna, are these words merely premise in the passage or are they part of the theme of the passage? You answer that. That's a tricky question. Gonna and wanna, are these a part of the premise of the passage or main theme of the passage? What do you think? Theme? Sharvari, had I used any other word instead of gonna and wanna, will my main theme change? No, my children, that's a part of premise. That's not a part of my theme. Because instead of gonna and wanna, I might use any other set of words that are informal ones, casual ones. Yet the theme remains intact. The theme is some words. For example, gonna and wanna, that's the premise, should be allowed to be spoken because some situations require them. Exactly, Mahi. These words are a part of the premise which are used to support the main theme. It's not the main theme. Gonna and wanna not a part of the main theme, even if they're repeated hundreds of times in the passage. Do you get the theory here, everyone? The difference here between the premise and the main theme? Okay? So, you have a little bit of homework. You have to comment under my video with the summary. Okay? Because main theme questions, we need to work on them. I'll be checking each of them. Okay? And download the app if you haven't done that yet. Like the video if you haven't done that yet. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Now, let me address the 22 kids. I shall see you in the classes, Thiru. Yes, Mahi. What's your query? By the time the 22 kids send me their queries, I'm going to share today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. Okay, and we're going to see what's important that we need to read today. Hindu Indian Express, Aeon. I'm going to share all of that in the background. Please give me a second. All the 22 kids, 23 kids, whatever your doubt is, I am going to address them for good 10 minutes. Here we go. All right. So, my children, jovial tone. No, not jovial. It could be analytical and explanatory, expository. Yes, it could be. Okay. So let's have a look. By the time more 22 and 23 people send me their queries, let's have a look at today's editorial. Okay, yeah, skim through it. Monsoon jitters. So now till August, these articles are going to be repetitively coming in. All the concepts on which our monsoon predictions are dependent upon, please get them correct in your head. El Nino, Nino, all of these concepts. How is the prediction happening? Get these concepts clear. Okay, so Mahi has a question. I mistakenly filled wrong bubbles in roll number, but wrote it correctly. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Mahi, I'm not really sure because manually they don't read it. There's a machine, an OMR machine that reads the bubbles. Okay? Jovial is casual, funny, happy. So Manjari, it is important. So Mahi, I'm not really sure, but I hope it's accepted. Everyone, one lesson to learn. Alet, please be very attentive with your OMR sheet. You might be putting in 10 extra minutes to it, but you shouldn't be messing it up. Mahi, my fingers are just crossed. I hope it is accepted. Ma'am, how to improve reading speed and how to form conclusions from it. So Arnav, how to form conclusions for it is a practice, okay? And I can't answer that in one line. I just want you to be very regular with these classes because through these editorial classes, we learn a lot of inference and conclusions, okay? Because I can't answer that in one go. This is how you draw the conclusion. We need an entire class to talk about that. But yes, I can answer how to improve reading speed. If you watch today's session, you'll know how to improve reading speed. You have to read some parts and leave some parts. You can't be reading everything. And of course, you have to be a reader. Needless to say, CLAT 22, yet again, like 20 and 21, has taught us another lesson that we need to be a reader if we wish to get through CLAT. Okay? You, if are not a reader, your ability to get through CLAT is going to be meager. You need to be reading to the power of infinite. Okay? Sharvari, I'm still in the process of analyzing it, but it has to be 110 plus for sure. If you talk about analysis, for sure 110 plus. Okay, but I'm still in the process of analyzing this course because I still don't know how much questions people have marked, and I need to speak to more people about that. I feel the wrong answer in bubble, but thank God I did. Oh, Shweta, my heart just broke looking at the first half, but okay, you're safe. The question booklet number is according to the roll number. Then it's good, Mahi. Then it should be accepted. Yes. Then it should be accepted. Okay. And everyone who's targeting 23, please learn your lessons. Please read the newspapers very carefully. Every GK that appeared in the examination appeared on probably the headlines of the newspapers. Read the editorials, read the newspapers, and you're good to go through. Just be a reader. Okay? No, it's not an ideal score, my child. I'm sorry to say that, bache. It's not an ideal score. Oh, for 23. Okay, now I get it, Pooja. Pooja, your ideal score is 100 plus. For a beginner, your score is absolutely fine. You have a long way to go. Possibly that's why you could finish the entire paper of 2 sections in 29 minutes, bache, because you did not know GK. If you knew it, you would have fussed about it. No, Mahi, it was not dangerous. I'll disagree. Ma'am, I'm doing normal Lewis plus 10 words daily for vocab. Perfect. Arnav, perfect. Perfect. Just keep reading a lot. Editorials. I'll show you a few things in the background. See, you read the Hindu, you read the Indian Express, you read articles from the Aeon. Kids who read the Aeon can never fuss about the length of the article because this in itself is so long, you'll be used to it. Solve previous year CAT papers, GMAT papers. But please be a reader and somebody who has sought thousands of passages before you sit for the actual examination. Okay? And please work on your vocabulary so that your speed becomes faster. All the 23 kids. It will not, Pooja. You just need to work harder. Kajal, please do an analysis of the mock why your scores are not increasing. You need to know what's going wrong. If you're working hard in the right direction, your scores will certainly increase. Possibly not with a steep graph, but gradually it would. Shweta, I don't know what went wrong with you because, see, I tell you, my GK comes from the newspapers. I'm not a GK teacher, but I read with my newspapers regularly. And I could answer almost every GK current affair question clearly. And that comes from my experience. Thank you, Mahi. Thank you. And everyone, see, I had been repeating main theme, tone for the last one whole year. Every passage had that question. Main theme and tone, main theme and tone. If you guys were regular, you would have got them correct. No, please don't practice passages from Google. Please, that's a wrong source. Half of them have incorrect answers. Do not practice any random passages from Google. So, that's one thing, okay? That every 23 aspirant, a few things that you need to know. Please be a reader. Please practice amply. Please read your newspapers regularly. And everyone who is going to sit for ALA 2022, good 2-3 minutes, look at the paper. What's going to come up in the paper? See, it's a new pattern that's emerging in ALA this year. See how it is and strategize. How am I going to finish the paper in time? What is that I have to begin with? What is that I'm going to leave towards the end? Strategize your paper. If you guys were regular with my 6 months revision, there were 4 videos that I had made. You had seen so many topics already predicted. The reopening of schools and colleges, POXO, AFSPA, dualism, monism. We had discussed all of them in detail. You just need to be consistent. 23 kids, you just need to be consistent. Okay? So your scores may be low right now, but it's a wake-up call. It should shake you up. 23, 22, all of you. Okay, let's have a look at the newspaper today. Monsoon jitters. Okay. APIs. Okay, skim through it. Social justice under the Dravidian. Ah, that's good. Skim through it. Let's have a look at the next page. Compulsory women worker. Yes, important. Petty patents can boost R&D. Yes, very, very good article. Very, very good one. Please read that in detail. Skim through it. And the last page should have an important article. Ah, mixed reality has a blurred vision. So the AI, we're going to probably take this article in the next class. Aryan GMAT passages, CAT passages, previous year CAT papers, previous year GMAT papers. Those are very good source. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at the Aeon. Skim through it. An easy one. This is a very interesting article. You're going to love reading that. Let's have a look at the Indian Express. Skim through it. Act of accommodation, skim through it. The power of voice. Yes. Skim through it. Monsoons increasing unpredictability is a cause for concern. Please read that in detail. I'm not trying to buy any of these, but no, I'm not. Monsoons, okay. Attack on Gurdwara in Kabul, skim, Agnipat. Yes, you need to know about that. Inflation tightrope, skim through it. That's all for today. Yeah, that's all for today. Correct. All right, guys. That's all for today then. I shall see you again on Wednesday with the editorial classes. Thank you so much, everyone. All the very best for your A-Lit prep. Work very hard. Strategize your paper taking pattern, and you shall sail through seamlessly. Bye, everyone. Have a very good day. God bless you.